Welcome to our final hovering lesson, which will bring together collective, cyclic, and pedal skills you've learned before. It is challenging, but you will find it easier and easier with practice. I will assist you with torque and drift counteraction at first, but step by step you will have full control, and by the end of the training you will be hovering all on your own. Okay, ready? All gauges are green, we have enough fuel, and we are clear to go. Using collective, get light on the skids first, and then take off to a 2-foot hover. Use pedals to maintain a heading toward the runway, and cyclic to keep us exactly above the center of our parking. Here you go. Remember how we were practicing pedal control and counteracting the torque? On the count of 3, I will stop applying right pedal and helping you to counteract the rotating tendency. Make sure to maintain the heading toward the runway by using pedals. 3, 2, 1, go. Pedal control is fully yours now. Just maintain the heading for a few seconds. Good. You work well with the torque effect. Now let's add the translating tendency. On the count of 3, I will stop applying right cyclic, and I will let you counteract the drift by yourself. Try to stay above our parking circle. And of course, don't forget to maintain the heading. 3, 2, 1, go. You have full control on the helicopter, and you are hovering all by yourself. Helicopters are generally dynamically unstable, so you should never stop making small corrections. Use cyclic to move and eliminate drift in the horizontal plane. Use collective to maintain desired altitude. Use pedals to control nose direction or heading. The interaction of these controls makes learning to hover difficult, but so exciting. Do your best to keep your heading and to maintain your position over the parking area. But don't worry if at first you're a little too far from it. And don't forget to breathe. Too much for you at the moment, so let me help you again with anti-torque and drift control. It will allow you to focus on our position and heading. Let's practice a bit of hover taxi now. This time I'll be helping you by counteracting the turning tendencies, so you can concentrate on the altitude and speed. And next time, you can try to hover taxi all by yourself. See the helicopter parking stand that is farther away from our parking. Let's fly there, flying over empty parking on the way, and always staying at the hovering altitude of 2 to 8 feet. Remember to move very slowly with the speed of a brisk walk. When you move fast, the effectiveness of the rotor increases, which lifts you up and requires you to lower collective to keep your height. And then, when you begin slowing down, you will have to raise collective again to have enough power to hover. But if you move slow and make all inputs gently, you don't even need to use collective that much. Try that. Stop exactly above the center of the parking circle. Now let's turn left toward the runway again. You did it. Hover taxi is an essential skill you will need in every flight. In our last objective for today, landing, you already know how to do that. Try to be as close to the center of this parking as you can. Stabilize your hover at an altitude of 2 feet. Make sure you don't have any movement or yawing before you touch the ground. Now, gently lower the collective control until you find yourself firmly on the ground. Here we are, safely on the ground. Hovering is the most challenging part of flying a helicopter. Don't worry if it feels hard at first. Feel free to repeat our hovering training if you want to complete it without my assistance. Otherwise, we can proceed to the next lessons where I can assist you while we are covering other topics until you get more confident with hovering. Beautiful morning at the Le Versailles Airport today. Perfect for our takeoff and climb lesson. Before taking off to a hover, always check that all gauges are green and we have enough fuel. As you can see, we have half a tank, which is more than enough for our training. Ready to go? I'm not helping you today, so it's all you. Gently raise the collective and get light on the skids. Correct yaw and drift, and then proceed to a 2-foot hover. Stabilize your hover over the parking area and maintain an altitude between 2 and 8 feet, just like in our hovering training. Good. Now follow a taxi line toward the helipad, but stop before the intersection with the taxiway. Stop before crossing the taxiway to check for traffic. Look right to make sure there is no aircraft on the taxiway. Look left to make sure there is no traffic on the approach. Now you can taxi to the center of the helipad. Take off along the runway. But which direction? Left or right? Look around. Find a windsock and check the wind direction. We always prefer to take off with a headwind. See now? Turn your nose against the wind, parallel with the 04 runway. Taking off in this direction, over the grass. Make sure there are no other aircraft on the taxiways that we're going to cross. And we are ready to go. Start moving forward slowly. Keep your altitude under 10 feet until you reach 45 knots airspeed. Maintain the heading. Notice that the faster you are, the less right pedal you need to keep your heading. Now gently rotate, reach, and then maintain 50 knots at all times in the climb. Maintain 50 knots airspeed and raise the collective for a more effective climb, but don't exceed 100% of available power. Your task is to reach 1,000 feet above sea level and then make a right turn along the crosswind leg of the pattern. Turn right while still climbing. Standard helicopter traffic pattern is right in order to not intersect with the left traffic pattern of airplanes. Not a bad attempt, but I would suggest trying again, and remember to always stay out of the danger zone of the height to velocity diagram. Hi there, I am controlling the helicopter now, and we are approaching the right downwind leg of the Grenoble low first out traffic pattern. Prepare to take control of the helicopter in 3, 2, 1, now. Good. Today we will perform an approach to a helipad. Maintain 70 knots airspeed and 1,200 feet altitude. This is 500 feet above the ground, which is a typical traffic pattern altitude for helicopters. Look right and find our helipad. When we are abeam the helipad, we will start to slow down. Passing the helipad on the right, start slowing down to 60 knots airspeed. You will have to reduce the collective a little to avoid climbing. Turn right to the base leg. Keep your turns coordinated. Ball and yaw string should be centered. Slowly begin your descent. For a normal approach, after our next turn to final, we want to be 1,000 feet MSL. Now look around, check for traffic, and then make a right turn to final. Aim to arrive to the final leg at 1,000 feet altitude with 50 knots airspeed. See the helipad? Try to keep this angle of approach now. Start to gradually slow down. You have to coordinate your descent and speed, and arrive at the helipad with your ground speed and descent reaching 0 at the same time. In the last phase, slowly raise the collective to overcome loss of effective transactional lift, and, in the end, inertia. Stabilize your hover over the helipad now. You can trim the helicopter when you hover, when you climb, or when you are in cruise. This releases the forces on the stick and lets you better feel the controls. Good job. A little more practice, and you will be a pro. I would recommend practicing making an approach to a hover a few more times before moving to the more advanced training. Congratulations on reaching this significant milestone, your first solo flight. You've worked hard to get to this point, and I have complete confidence in your skills and abilities to make a perfect traffic pattern. Remember, you've trained extensively for this moment, and you know what to do. Stay calm, trust your training, and remain focused. And don't forget about doing a pre-flight check and removing all those covers. You can use the rotor brake to expedite the slowing down and stopping of the main rotor. You did really well overall, with just a few minor mistakes. You're definitely showing you're capable. Now, when you have more skill and understanding of the helicopter, let's move to advanced maneuvers. Keep hovering over the runway center line while I'm talking, okay? Advanced maneuvers often require a pilot to take the helicopter to the edge of the safe operating envelope. Today we will learn to do a rapid deceleration maneuver. You will see, even though it is also called a quick stop, all inputs should be slow and gentle. We'll begin with air taxi. You will accelerate to 45 knots, climb to 30 feet, and lower the collective a bit to keep this height and speed. We want to fully stop above the arrow, which marks the very end of the runway. Remember the technique. At the same time, apply aft cyclic and lower the collective to maintain height and slow down. When the speed is almost gone and the helicopter begins to settle, slowly raise the collective and add forward cyclic until you stabilize in a hover. That's it. Just don't forget to maintain the correct heading by using your pedals. Let's go. Start by moving forward, just like you do for the normal takeoff. Reach 45 knots airspeed while staying below 10 feet. Climb to 30 feet while staying at 45 knots. 30 feet. Keep this height and 45 knot speed. Lower the collective a bit. You were too high. You were too low. We need to be at the 30 feet with 45 knots airspeed when starting rapid deceleration. Let's try air taxi again, but this time make sure that we have good conditions for making a quick stop. Let's go. Start by moving forward, just like you do for the normal takeoff. Reach 45 knots airspeed while staying below 10 feet. Now climb to 30 feet while staying at 45 knots. 30 feet. Keep this height and 45 knot speed. Lower the collective a bit. You were too high. need to be at the 30 feet with 45 knots airspeed when starting rapid deceleration. Let's try air taxi again, but this time make sure that we have good conditions for making a quick stop. Let's go. Start by moving forward, just like you do for the normal takeoff. Reach 45 knots airspeed while staying below 10 feet. Now climb to 30 feet while staying at 45 knots. 30 feet. Keep this height and 45 knot speed. Lower the collective a bit. Half cyclic and push the collective down. Keep flaring until you lose speed. To avoid ballooning, lower the collective and reduce half cyclic. To slow down the descend, raise collective, add forward cyclic. Adjust pedals as necessary. Exercise normal hovering above the runway centerline. See, even though the maneuver sounds rather simple, it requires very high coordination of all controls. Nice attempt, and I know that after some practice you will do better. Hi there. I am controlling the helicopter now, and we are entering the left downwind leg of our usual traffic pattern. Prepare to take control of the helicopter in 3, 2, 1, now. Good. Keep flying straight and level. Maintain altitude between 1,000 and 1,200 feet. This is a good height for the high reconnaissance we are about to do. Our goal today is to operate in the confined area. See that small field surrounded by trees and hangars? That is our target. Fly closer to have a better overview of the field. Gradually slow down to almost a hovering speed now. We need to fly alongside the field very slow and explore it carefully. Check if there are any unexpected obstacles present. Wires, for instance. Looks good to me. Judging by the windsock at the airport, we will be landing parallel to the 04 runway. Let's fly downwind and prepare for the approach now. Speed up again. Deviate to the left to allow enough space for turning back on final. Now turn right and start slowing down and descending. Try to be at 1,000 feet and 50 knots airspeed when you enter the final descent. Now begin your descent to the landing field. Lower the collective more than you would normally, but avoid vortex ring state conditions. After a steep approach, you need to begin raising the collective higher and more forcefully to avoid settling and touching the ground. Stabilize your hover now. For takeoff now. Make a pivoting turn back toward the downwind side of the field. Hover taxi to the downwind corner of the field to have as much area as possible in front of us. Remember, the three most useless things during an emergency are the runway behind you, the altitude above you, and the fuel left in the fuel truck. Against the wind now and prepare for takeoff. Stabilize your hover over our takeoff spot. Are green. We have enough fuel, and we have over 10% available power in reserve. Slowly raise collective and lower your nose a bit to start gaining speed. Aim for 100% at MLI, but not over. Keep this attitude until you pass the trees. Now transition to your usual climb with 50 knots airspeed. That was a good attempt, but you need a bit more practice to safely operate in confined areas.